Welcome, everyone. We are meeting today for a mini horizon scanning webinar. The topic is hunting for weak signals, and we will focus on the weak signals from the field of mobility, transportation, and automotive. And this presentation will present the results of the two projects. One is a project funded by Horizon Europe program called Idealist, and the other is ongoing small virtual mobility grant co-founded by SHIFT consortium of the EU. What we are going to do today, you will hear this plenary presentation about main concepts that we will be touching upon today. You will also hear about results of the Idealist project, and also we will discuss the results of our cost shift pre-survey on weak signals. And after this introduction, we will have time for discussion and also for work in a group. For the group work, we will be using the Miro board, and you will get a link soon. And afterwards, of course, we'll share our reflections on the topic and on the weak signals that hopefully we will come up together with. So starting with the basic concepts that we will be touching upon today, we will start with the goals. So first of all, this webinar and the small grant, which is being implemented within Shift Cost project, is to enhance foresight skills of the participants. And the goal is to make participants of the webinar, but also other people who will then have the opportunity to review the materials and the recording on the web page, to make them more aware about the concepts used in future studies field in order to, let's say, increase transdisciplinarity of the cost shift network and its members. The second important goal is to communicate the results of Idealist project, where we collected a number of signals in the mobility thematic area, and also to share the link to materials which are on the web page of this project, which you can freely use in your activities. If you would like to carry on such a webinar in the future, there are materials and templates for download and for use waiting for you. And of course, the third goal is to capture new ideas, especially related to sustainability and also to social sciences and humanities that relate to the field of mobility. So that's a very important goal, and we hope to do that in our interactive session. So starting with foresight, of course, there are many definitions of foresight which you can find in the literature, but the one that I like very much recently is that strategic foresight explores planning and active actions based on imagined futures. For those who are not from the field, this may sound very mysterious. So let's have a look what it means. In foresight field, a very important assumption is that the future cannot be predicted. But it also means that the future cannot be predetermined, and it means that many different futures are possible. And if you look at the graphic here on the slide, you can see that there are many futures, plausible ones. Some are more plausible than others. Some are projected futures. Some might be our desirable futures. And also, a very important assumption in this field is that to some extent, we can shape the future that will materialize by the actions that we take or that we decide not to take in the present. So we do have some influence about the future, and we do have some, let's say, ability to identify potential opportunities or risks if we use foresight methods correctly. And one of the methods that we will be using today is weak signals analysis. And another key concept in future studies, which we will be talking about today, is horizon scanning. So horizon scanning is actually the foundation of foresight projects. It's usually the first step taken in any foresight project, really. And the objective of horizon scanning is to identify potential things, phenomena, development that may change the field that we are studying, the future of the, I don't know, a sector or organization or a region. The key challenge in horizon scanning is the ability to spot weak signals of change. And we will come back to this a little bit later. A good metaphor for horizon scanning can be this picture, in which you can see let's say, an outlook from a car. So if you drive anywhere, you need to pay attention to many things that happen in front of your car. So you need to pay attention to the cars that are in front of you. You need to pay attention to the signs on the road. Also, you should take care of some unexpected events, like you can see a ball in front of this car, so you need to pay attention to such events. You do not only have to look at what is right in front of the car when you are driving, but you need to plan a little bit ahead. You need to see where you need to change the lane, also you check your GPS to see what is the traffic, which lane will be faster. So it means that when you are driving, you need to pay attention to many things happening around you. And it's very similar with horizon scanning. In order to see, let's say, in order to get to the preferable future of your organization or region, you also need to take care of many different phenomena that are happening around your organization or the region. And you need to have the ability to distinguish which phenomena are more important than others, which may have more impact on the future of your organization or your region than others. You just need to know which developments are somehow supportive to your desirable future, or which of them might be some challenges and barriers. So that's, in a nutshell, a nice metaphor that summarizes the horizon scanning activity. And also a nice quotation that summarizes why such analysis is important is the one which says, "Times are urgent, slow down." So we often think that the technological developments are, so quick that we do not have time to think, but the opposite is important. We do need the time to stop and reflect, because the times are so crazy. So we need time to really ponder upon the developments that are happening around us, so that we just feel more confident that the actions that we are taking and the choices that we are taking are the right ones. And when we do horizon scannings in foresight projects, we take into account many different, let's say, phenomena, or which we call trends, drivers, and weak signals. And usually data on trends and drivers can be found in the literature. You can also use expert knowledge to collect a list of most impactful trends in a specific field, a list of most impactful drivers in a specific field. This can be relatively easy identified and found. But with weak signals, it's not that easy. So what are weak signals? Weak signals are, let's say, signs of the future the kind of evidence that disruptive change could be underway, but they are really hard to find sometimes, because normally there is no data about weak signals. There are just, pieces of information which you can find if you really pay attention to the things happening around you. And when speaking about weak signals and signs of change, you can think of not only technological developments, new kind of scientific discoveries, but also things that come from other dimensions, like new values, or maybe new roles, or even new concepts, not really something tangible, but things that are talked about, among communities. And I think that summarizes a little bit better the idea of a weak signal. But if you still don't know what they could be, I'm presenting a list of, let's say, recommendations of what weak signals are. And the recommendations come from a Finnish futurist, from Elina Hiltunen, who said that a good weak signal should make you laugh. And also a good weak signal should seem unreal to some extent. If a signal is good, it means that there is not much information about the phenomenon. It also may seem strange or weird. The signal, if you encounter it, it can make you say, aha, you feel somehow you have this eureka moment yourself when you hear about such thing. Sometimes weak signal can challenge the status quo. It can be even rejected by some part of the society. It also could be highly disruptive, and it can be a thing that has not been done before. If you look at the list and you are trying to find a weak signal, a single weak signal does not have to match all this, let's say, bullet points that you can see on the slide. But at least one, let's say, condition should be met if a signal that you identified should be a good one for further analysis. And nothing works better than examples. So here I'm showing you a sign of change, one that was identified in another project, which I coordinate, and it's a project for European Union Drugs Agency, and it concerns the future of synthetic drugs. In this project, we are developing scenarios of synthetic drugs diffusion until 2050. And here you can see a poster that was identified by one of project partners, and it was a source of information for a weak signal, which was then conceptualized. So one of our partners noticed this poster, in which you can see, if you know German, you can see that the question on the poster is, where do you want to live in 800 years? And if you look at the author of the poster, you can see that this is authored by the Party for Rejuvenation Research. So there is actually a political party in Germany called the Party for Rejuvenation Research. And this was considered a weak signal by our consortium, and based on, let's say, this poster, this thing that we found, a weak signal was conceptualized, which is emergence of political and institutional support for longevity-focused healthcare. And this weak signal reflects a shift, which is about growing institutional interest in extending healthy lifespans through preventative care, anti-aging biotech, and personalized medicine. So when I mentioned that when you are trying to find signs of change around you, it means that you can find it even on the street. And also Elina Hiltunen, whom I mentioned before, when I met her, she used to always carry a photo camera with her, and she used to photograph anything that she spotted, and was kind of strange, for her, in order to find weak signals. So that's an example which I hope clarifies a little bit the term of weak signals. Finalizing on the weak signals theory, I would just like to underline 4 characteristics of the weak signal, and these are plausibility. So even if something is very weird and strange and has not been done before, it should still be plausible. The second characteristic is novelty. So we already touched upon that. The third one is it should be significant for a specific domain which you are analyzing, and it should be timely, which means it should be relevant for the time period that is of your interest. So the time of a specific foresight study that you are implementing at the moment. Let's skip the summary and let's just have a look at the signals which were identified in the Idealist project. So this project was executed in a partnership with 11 industrial clusters. You can see them on the slide, and the industrial clusters came from France, from Czech Republic, from Poland, from Italy, from Germany, and from France. These industrial clusters were very much interested in finding signs of, let's say, disruption of their specific ecosystems. The industrial clusters represented 3 ecosystems. One was aerospace and defense, the second was energy-intensive industries, and the third was mobility, transportation, and automotive sector. And together with industrial clusters, we went through a horizon scanning activity, which took us half a year for sure. We were meeting online. We also were working offline using some surveys to collect ideas for signals, to prioritize them, to discuss about them. And the results of our scanning involved together 60 signals for the 3 ecosystems. And today I will show you the result for the mobility. What was the result of our work? The results were 3 maps of signals and drivers. And here you can see a graphic representation of the map. So signals were put in the circles, and the drivers were in this outer part of the picture. Signals were distributed next to the driver, which was very much linked to a specific phenomenon. And also signals were distributed either closer or further from the circle, which meant that the impact of the signal will be either felt by the system, let's say in 5-year time frame or 10-year time frame, or even longer, like 15 or 20 years from now. So this is just a graphical representation. And let's have a look at the details. So the main drivers which were identified by the clusters in our horizon scanning process were 8 different drivers. You can see them on the slide. Sustainability, advanced mobility, demographic change, industry 5.0, security, shifts in global competition, evolution of ownership models, and energy sources. So these were the main forces of change for the system. And the signals are presented on the slide, 17 signals in total were identified. And if you look at those signals, you will notice one thing. So let's have a look together. We have Hyperloop, we have superconductors, we have quantum-powered protection for autonomous vehicles, we have increased use of micro-mobility options, we have supersonic drones, manufacturing as a service platform, hydrogen cars, modular hydrogen propulsion systems, remanufacturing, autonomous driving, clean energy, vehicles equipped with exoskeleton interfaces. We have wide adoption of 3D printing and cyber threats. So if you look at the list of signals, you will notice, hopefully you can notice that all of them relate to technology. All of them relate to some technological advancements, some scientific discoveries. And this was actually one of the main reasons why I applied for a small grant in the COST-SHIP network, because I just thought that this list is non-exhaustive and there are some important topics missing from the list of signals. And I hope that we can extend the list and we can, let's say, make the list of signals for mobility, transport, and automotive sector more diverse today, together with you in our discussion session. What was also important for that project and for the participants of Horizon Scanning from Industrial Cluster, it was the assessment of the signals. So participants wanted to somehow prioritize the signals. And we did it using two metrics. We asked the participants to assess the potential impact of a signal on their ecosystem, and also to assess the time in which the influence of the signal might be the greatest. And we called this metric ETM, which is earliest time to mainstream. And here you have a distribution of the signals using the results of the assessment. And the example which is underlined is hydrogen cars. So hydrogen cars, the signal was rated, the impact of the signal was rated 3 out on the scale up to 5, so which means the impact is quite significant on the field. And ETM was rated 10 years, which means that the signal may materialize or may have the highest impact by 2034-5. Also, each signal was analyzed in more depth, so we managed to, let's say, identify some potential opportunities and risks for the clusters and for the actors in the system stemming from the signals. And the final map of the signal looked like this. So it's basically you can see the drivers around the circle and different signals which are illustrated as small cars. The signals which are marked orange were rated by the experts of the process as signals that may have potential negative impact on the system. The others were positively rated. So again, let's skip the summary. And here is the link which I promised at the beginning. So here you will find not only the report from this Horizon Scanning process, full report with detailed analysis, with the maps, and not only for the mobility, but also for the remaining two ecosystems. But also if you scan the QR code or look for the webpage of the project, you will get access to templates for horizon scanning, to a manual for horizon scanning, and also to a, let's say, sample mirror board, which you can use and replicate in any horizon scanning process that you might be willing to execute in the future. So please use these materials. And finally, we are moving and coming close to, let's say, the results of the survey that you took part in. So before the workshop, we asked you to come up with some ideas for additional signals in mobility, transportation, and automotive. And let's have a look at some of the partial findings from this survey. So were there any new ideas compared to the signals that were identified by the Idealist project? So first of all, we can cluster the signals that you proposed, and altogether I think we got around 30 ideas for signals in the survey. We can cluster those ideas into 4 groups. The first one being the future vehicle, the second, the future of journeys, the third one, the future of fuel and energy, and the fourth one, systemic risks and challenges. In the first cluster, the future vehicle, we have such ideas as sleeping on the move, aesthetics mattering more for shared mobility. We have urban air taxis. Now we have compostable vehicles, but also we have self-driving cars and emotional navigation systems. So there are some technological related signals, but also some other concepts for discussion in the second part of this webinar. In cluster number 2, the future of fuel and energy, we have such signals as first solid hydrogen battery, or unlimited hydrogen fuel generated from ocean water, or running out of oil as one of the signals. In the third cluster, the future of journeys, we have, for example, car-free day or mileage allowance for pooling cars. So different ideas, definitely, from those from Idealist project. And in the final cluster, a small one on systemic risks and challenges, we have a signal, one of the example signals, Tesla falling safety inspection at higher % than other vehicles. So we hope to discuss the signals with you in our horizon scanning exercise in a minute or two. But before we dive into the discussions, let me just show you a general methodology for horizon scanning. So normally you need to start with, of course, needs analysis, why you do the horizon scanning, who is your audience, what are the expected results. Then you do the actual horizon scanning where you collect ideas for signals. Then you interpret the data, process the data, prioritize the findings. Then you do the sense making. Then you communicate the results to your audience, and ideally you should use the information gathered on signals in decision making. And we are in step 2 and step 3, which means that we collected some ideas for signals through the survey, and we will be collecting more ideas in our group discussion. And we will do some processing of the results, some assessments to see which signals matter for mobility, transport, and automotive sector. How we are going to work. There are 3 small exercises that we prepared for today. We hope to complete at least the first exercises. The first one is to discuss the signals collected in the pre-survey. and also to extend this list of signals by simply sharing ideas for new signals. Then to vote for the 5 most impactful and most novel signals. This is exercise 1. And then exercise 2 is about assessing the signals. So assessing the projected impact of the signal on the field and also projected time. We will do it in a Google Doc. So if we do it, it will be great. If we still have the time to update the map of signals, there is the third exercise envisioned and presented here. Before we go into discussions, let me just share some of the guiding questions which might help you in coming up with ideas for weak signals. So the questions that you might ask yourself are the following. What is new and emerging? What have I not heard anywhere else? Is no one talking about this yet? Does this challenge a commonly held assumptions about the world or the ecosystem? Are decision makers and other stakeholders ready for it? Would this have interesting implications or consequences in fields beyond my own? What could be found only in one particular place, but when scaled, could transform this ecosystem significantly? And what is so unexpected that gives you an aha moment when you come to notice it as a strange future of an ecosystem? So hopefully the questions will be helpful for you. And with this list of questions, I will close the presentation.
Anna, I would